Babe, when you look back at the season from hell that the Fever had, none of us expected them to be in this situation. None of us expected them to be winning a very close Game 3.
Think about the chance that Caitlin Clark will play in the WNBA Finals. I know it sounds impossible. For weeks, we've been told that her season is over and that she won't be back because of a groin injury. But because of a little-known rule in the WNBA, Clark might suddenly be able to legally return to the court if the Fever make it to the championship game. Think about how the biggest female basketball star's return could happen on the biggest stage in the league. A twist like that could change the whole situation. The problem is that it's not that easy. The dangers, the rules, and the changes to the roster are all connected. Some people are sure that this loophole was meant for something like this, but others think it is very unlikely. We are going to look at everything today, why the Fever gave themselves a chance, what the rule really says, and how Clark's return would change Indiana's chances of winning the championship. Let's get down to business. The Indiana Fever were not expected to do well at the start of the season. Most analysts said they didn't even make it to the playoffs. The roster looked like a bunch of young, messy people who didn't always play well. It looked like their season was over after Caitlin Clark fell. The Fever, on the other hand, kept going and made it to the semifinals, where they are now, just one step away from the championship. Think about what that means. Aaliyah Boston has agreed to take on more work. Kelsey Mitchell has been on fire. But veterans like Natasha Howard and Odyssey Sims have been with this team the whole time. Many people thought Sophie Cunningham wouldn't be a big deal, but she's brought toughness and energy to both ends of the floor. This group has set the standard for resilience. You see a team win games that they shouldn't. You would have to worry about what would happen if they got their star player back. That's what people are talking about in Indiana, right? Now fans are curious about what the Fever could do without Caitlin Clark if they can fight this hard without her. The answer can be scary because Indiana's ceiling not only rises but also jumps when Clark is in the game. This is why so many people are interested in the debate about whether or not she will come back. Let's take a step back and think about why we're here. Caitlin Clark has not played after suffering a groin injury that kept her out of action for weeks. Most people thought she would miss the playoffs, when the Fever declared at the time that she would miss the rest of the regular season. Treating injuries to the groin is challenging. At times, they disappear quickly, and at other times, they continue. Clark only played in roughly 13 games this season, which is surprising considering the fanfare surrounding her debut. The expectation was that she would rule the league. For a while, she did. The Fever sold out arenas and dominated television ratings, making them the WNBA's must-watch team right away. Everything collapsed when the injury occurred. But here's the interesting part. Depending on the extent of the injury, recovery from groin injuries often takes 2 to 6 weeks. The days of that time frame are long gone. Clark might have had time to prepare behind the scenes in addition to training and recovering, which raises the obvious question. If she's feeling good enough, why not bring her back? The subject shifts from health to rules at this stage, because even if Clark might want to return, it's not just a matter of whether her body is ready. Whether the WNBA allows it is the question. At that point, things get rather complicated. Things start to become intriguing at this point. According to conventional WNBA rules, postseason rosters are locked after they are turned in at the end of the regular season. No more bringing in unrestricted free agents, no more hardship signings, and no more 7-day contracts. You own your submission, but there's a catch. A WNBA provision allows teams to activate players who are currently under contract but have been marked as inactive. This suggests that players on maternity leave, suspension, or the injury list might potentially be added to the active postseason roster if a spot opens up as a result of an injury. And what do you know? Caitlin Clark is among such individuals. She's no ordinary free agent. She's signed. She is bound by a contract. She is a member of the Fever group as well. Because of this, people are buzzing. Theoretically, the Fever might activate her if another player gets hurt or the league provides an exemption. Before we get ahead of ourselves, let's acknowledge this. Exceptions are uncommon. The league does not award them carelessly, but the language really exists. So this isn't simply some strange fiction. Caitlin Clark still has a chance to return to the finals, despite the roster deadline having already passed. That is the point at when everything is going wrong. What makes this loophole so crucial then? Since it raises the possibility that Caitlin Clark's season is still going strong. The majority of fans think the injury announcement was final, but the CBA gives that remote option. If you have a contract, you're never really shut out. The primary difference here is between being on the active playoff roster and being under team control. An injured player may stay on the inactive list and still be eligible for activation if certain conditions are met. Emergency or hardship contracts, on the other hand, end at the end of the regular season. This clause is particularly intriguing because it is rarely used. Very few players of Clark's caliber have ever found themselves in this predicament, signed, injured, and perhaps able to return at the highest stakes. This type of situation forces coaches, executives, and even the league to carefully consider their actions. If Clark is able to play, is it because of the fever? Would they put the team's unity at danger? Or do they keep employing the same roster that brought them here? Because of this, the loophole is not just lawful. The way the season ends could be altered by this decision. Now let's talk about the risk. Restoring a player after a lengthy injury. Absence is never easy. The risks are obvious. It's possible that Caitlin Clark is not feeling well. She could injure herself once more. She can also disrupt the rhythm of a team that is currently working. Chemistry experiments are not appropriate during basketball playoffs. But here's the reversed. Caitlin Clark remains one of the league's most dangerous players. Even at 60%, her shooting stretches defenses, her vision creates opportunities, and her competitive passion inspires everyone around her. That type of impact does more than just help change things. This is a substantial payout. Now that Clark is on the court, the Fever can play anyone, even the defending champions' aces. She forces opponents to reconsider their plans, alter their tactics, and treat Indiana with more deference than they otherwise might. The question is if the Fever are willing to take that risk. Do they take a chance on their franchise player for a chance at history, or do they play it safe and protect her long-term health? It's the classic dilemma: security in the long run against temporary fame. And for a team this close to the title game, it's a pretty tough choice. At this point, the eyebrows raised. The Indiana Fever only submitted 11 players for their postseason roster. That is exceptional because teams are allowed to carry 12. Why would they assign a place to someone? Some believe that this was a premeditated move. By keeping the 12th position vacant, the Fever might have given themselves some wiggle room, possibly even intentionally leaving Clark's comeback open. If they have no plans at all, why not just bolster the team with another depth player? Instead, they relied on their group strength and had fewer bodies going into the playoffs. That begs the issue of whether the front desk secretly assigned that spot to Caitlin. The team hasn't released any official statements, but the decision appears questionable enough to lead to speculation. That open roster spot could be the clue that everyone missed if Clark really had a route back. Thus, it's worth thinking that Indiana would intentionally go shorthanded unless they had a more ambitious strategy. And if the Fever shocked the league and made it to the title game, it would seem to be one of the boldest strategic choices in recent WNBA history. Let's be practical for a moment, even if the rules allow it. The main question is whether Caitlin Clark is physically ready to return. Playing basketball in the playoffs adds a whole new level of intensity, and injuries take time to heal. According to reports, she hasn't been running as hard as the squad during this run. Her conditioning might not be at its best as a result, and participating in the playoffs would put her body to the test right away. If she returns too soon, she runs a significant chance of re-injury. On the other hand, Caitlin Clark is a distinct rival. She performs well under pressure and is suited for large events. Even though she hasn't been participating in full practices, she has been working out, recuperating, and preparing behind the scenes. If there is even the slightest chance of her playing, she will battle for it. The Fever must take all of that into account. Is she smart enough? Is she strong enough? Instead of hurting the squad, can she get to the finals and increase their chances? If the answer is yes, Indiana may surprise the world. If the answer is no, this becomes one of the biggest what-ifs in WNBA history. Let's hope Caitlin Clark returns for the title game for a little while. The entire game can alter in an instant when you're playing the Las Vegas Aces, a powerful team. When the Fever suddenly got a weapon, the defense would have to stretch the floor. Without Clark, teams might pack the paint against Aaliyah, Boston, and demand that the Indiana guards shoot. With Clark, that tactic doesn't work. Her shooting range forces Defoe. Doesn't work. Her shooting range forces Defoe.